FM News Talk 97.1.
On demand audio. You're listening to Allman in the Morning. Common Sense Radio.
Good morning, you bunch of drunks.
You know, 1 in 10 people still listen to music on cassettes. Do you know that?
No. I think my mom saved all my cassettes. I could probably get my hands on all of mine.
The 8-track is the one you really need to have.
I think we still have a few of those around, too.
Do you?
Uh-huh.
Those are great. What a time that was, huh? I actually bought a long time ago this reel-to-reel at a flea market type of thing. Bought this reel-to-reel recorder on it. And the reel-to-reel came with a reel of music. And it was somebody who was taping like old-style Hank Williams type of music off of a radio, apparently, because it was in a whole reel of old-school country, which I think you'd enjoy there, Denise.
Really? You think so?
Reel-to-reel's awesome. If you can really nail that down, get a nice little reel-to-reel system, it's the way to go. Anyway, Norah O'Donnell. You know, you have to be, you really do have to be a true moron or a Democrat to, and oftentimes that's interchangeable, to know or think that keeping a tax policy in place that has been in place for 10 years, and that would be the so-called Bush tax cuts, keeping them in place actually represents a further tax cut. And that's exactly the way the media is reporting on the desire to extend the tax cuts for everybody. And Norah O'Donnell, for instance, falls into that trap, or purposely actually promotes that idea. And she runs into a guy by the name of Paul Ryan. Here's how it went down.
Congressman, you're calling them tax policies and tax code. You're afraid to call them tax cuts now?
They're not tax cuts, Nora, because they've been the current tax policy for 10 years.
Come on,
but honestly, Nora, keeping taxes where they are is not cutting taxes. Preventing a tax increase is preventing a tax increase. It's not actually cutting taxes.
No, why is that so difficult for Norah O'Donnell to understand?
What a horrible woman she is.
Oh, I got you. The reason it's difficult for her to understand is because she's a prostitute for Barack Obama and the Obama administration. That's why it's so hard for her to understand. Where else? It's a CBS network news where Norah O'Donnell is sitting there. Come on, Mr. Ryan. Come on, Congressman. Getting into an actual argument with him instead of actually having a discussion with him and trying to get to the truth of the matter. But she doesn't really care what it is. Jon Stewart, this is interesting, this reaction to, speaking of journalism, Stewart, I think, kind of gets something right here when he talks about the reaction to the Ryan choice.
The media's reaction to Romney's selection was swift and universal.
What Mitt Romney did is created enthusiasm, energy, authenticity, and substance.
It will make sure that we're talking about substance and solutions.
We can have a race where we talk about the real issues of our country.
There were many people who've spent the past 6 months saying, guys, when is this election going to get serious? It just got serious.
Because of Paul Ryan? As the media, couldn't you have made it a serious discussion?
Yeah, absolutely. Instead of just simply actually doing the Democrats' dirty work. And it was a bad day for the media yesterday. Let's move on rapidly then to John Sununu as he, attacks Soledad O'Brien. This was money right here.
Soledad, stop this. All you're doing is mimicking the stuff that comes out of the White House and gets repeated on the Democratic blog boards out there. If you're going to mouth,
I'm telling you what factcheck.com tells you. I'm going to telling you what the CBO tells you. I'm telling you what CNN's independent analysis
I've got the CBO report right here.
And I'm telling you what it says.
Put an
I've read
Obama bumper sticker on your forehead when you do this.
That's fantastic. And that was jocular on the part of Sununu. Here's a more serious approach coming to us from Barbara Comstock, who is really a great new addition to the spokesperson staff of the Romney-Ryan campaign. This again with Soledad O'Brien. This again trying to correct the twisted brain of said anchor.
Nobody 55 or over needs to be part of this discussion because under the Romney and Ryan
what we're putting forward with the Romney and Ryan team, it will change nothing in Medicare if you're over 55. Actually, by the time it's implemented, it'll probably go down to about 53 or so because it takes time to phase it in and change
it. It's very
it.
simple. And even if Ryan did, in fact, support some of these cuts in the House budget, Romney doesn't. And so it's all very, very simple. By the way, this interview with Soledad O'Brien, I'm going to put that on the electric stove for you so you can see how it all went down. And Newsbusters actually is the one promoting this particular story. During this interview, Soledad O'Brien gets into the weeds because, some of these guys and these people who are prostituting themselves for the Obama administration, they have a really short shelf life. I mean, it's almost like some of the callers who call into the show here from the Democratic side. They're able to spew out just, that maybe they're able to go on for about a minute. Then the minute you start asking them questions, they go by the wayside because they can't hang. Well, Soledad O'Brien is pulling this stuff on Barbara Comstock, and Comstock keeps trying to correct her and tell her what's going on. Eventually, the control room there in Soledad O'Brien's studio, they're very sympathetic to Soledad O'Brien and her small brain. And so on down the line on a two-shot, they're fighting and everything else. When Soledad O'Brien runs out of gas, she's got to go back to her notes, her papers. And so what happens is that's the time where the control room cuts away from Soledad O'Brien so she can actually study her papers without the menace of the camera watching her. And the woman, Barbara Comstock, just keeps talking. Well, they didn't do it without one part where you can still see her looking at this piece of paper. Newsbusters has a picture of the piece of paper, and it turns out it's an email that has Democratic talking points on it. It's right there for the cameras to see. Frozen for you. We'll put that clip up on Allman's Electric Stove, and we'll continue with the frivolity that is the lightning round here at the Allman in the Morning Show. 969-9797.